The MAGA world is apparently being absolutely bled dry by Donald Trump as he offloads all of the many costs of his legal challenges directly into their laps. And the amount of money that he is funneling from them, from just regular conservatives around the country, is truly staggering. It is apparently, over the course of just last year, $50 million, not in all of the costs of all of his trials, but all of just what the PACs that raise money from regular conservatives have put forward towards that. $50 million that was given by, truckers and grandmas or whatever who really want to build that wall or something. Instead, it's just going to Alina Habba or flights to New York City or whatever. And by the way, it's not only hurting them, it's potentially hurting his reelection bid because Save America, so that's a Trump PAC, that's one of the big contributors here, at one point had more than $100 million in the bank, but last year it almost went broke because of all of these legal fees. And so he's been apparently directing 10% of donations raised online to that PAC. So 10% of everything that is raised goes to that. So you might think, well, shed no tears for the MAGA world. If they're donating to his legal defense, then they get what they deserve. But they don't even know that that's happening. They get an email about how election interference or something Hunter Biden's crotch, and they're like, I want to donate to that. But instead, it just gets thrown into these legal challenges. And by the way, some of them are necessary. He's being sued. Others are totally optional. He doesn't have to appeal the E. Jean Carroll thing. And if he does, it's gonna cost millions of dollars. But it's not necessarily gonna cost him millions of dollars. It's gonna cost poor conservatives that much money. And I will remind you, Donald Trump assures us that he is a billionaire. He could absorb those costs if he really wanted to. He could pay for the defense necessitated by his actions, his statements. He did these things. But instead, it's the MAGA world that's gonna pay. What do you think, Sharon?
And they're gonna pay and pay and pay because he keeps doing these behaviors, even though everyone's pointing out the bar is so low, by the way. It's been 4 or 5 days and he hasn't said anything against her to defame her. Really? But I don't feel a bit sorry for, as you call them, poor conservatives. They don't even know what day it is, nor do they know who's the president of the United States. So the fact that they are a little bit clueless and perhaps getting ripped off, I don't know what the laws are and campaign finance and all of this other stuff, raising money with a super PAC, there are loopholes and stuff. But oh well, if you choose to just kind of walk around in a stupor with your eyes closed, you're gonna bump into things and then you get bruised up, that's on you.
Yeah, I just wish that the cost was on him.
Yeah.
And again, look, some people, I'm sure there'll be conservatives, there'll probably be Fox News people that will see the same reporting and they will be concerned not about the fact that regular conservatives are pointlessly wasting money that they don't necessarily have to waste on Donald Trump, but that this is proof of the Democrats' plan. Look at what they're doing. They're trying to cost Trump all of this money. They're trying to bankrupt him so that he can't run in 2024. But again, I will remind you, he's a billionaire. If he wants to spend $1 billion on his campaign, theoretically, he could do that. He shouldn't need those donations. But I will also remind you, these challenges to him are for actions that were so not necessary. You did not need to steal those documents. You did not need to launch a coup. You did not need to abuse E. Jean Carroll. And you certainly didn't need to spend years defaming her after that. You didn't need to try to find 11,000 votes in Georgia. All of those things, Donald Trump, are on you. And so when there are legal challenges over them, when there are high costs for your lawyers and all of that stuff as a result of it, you opted into all of that. This is the most costly series of own goals our political system has ever seen. If you believe that Joe Biden is an authoritarian and he's just making all this up, well then Trump has definitely made it easier for him because they haven't had to dig into his past or anything. This stuff is all super transparent. And that also is on Donald Trump. But I want to ask you about your opinion about one other thing because this is hurting his ability to put this money into other things. But also Nikki Haley is starting to try to make a little bit of noise about it. She posted a tweet saying, another reason Donald Trump won't debate me, his PAC spent $50 million in campaign dollars on his legal fees. He can't beat Joe Biden if he's spending all his time and money on court cases and chaos. So she's still not saying that it's merited. She's still not saying that he is a criminal. She's still not saying he did these things, but she is at least saying, look at him. He's a mess. It's chaos. This is why he can't run a serious campaign. Do you think that this could potentially work for her?
It could. Again, I lament that the bar is so low from the woman who didn't understand what the Civil War was about and wouldn't utter the word slavery. But she could potentially hurt him with some. But again, I think there's still so many people, not everyone. You have independents, you have people who are former Republicans or rhinos or whatever, who aren't going for it anymore, even with the conservative court and the like. They said it's too much. Ending abortion's too much. But so it could hurt with them, the money, the big donors, people who are kind of just sitting around unafraid of being targeted or getting a bullseye to the back. But I think it could potentially. She's still around irritating him in her dress.
100%. Well, I will also just add on, I understand what you're saying. 4 days of not defaming Eugene Carroll's not the most impressive thing in the world, but it's a record.
Oh, John.
It's a record for quite some time, and he's still not doing it. He had a really long post, as you saw, that talked about the judges and their bullies and all of this. Eugene Carroll, crickets. I got nothing to say all of a sudden. And it's a silence that I absolutely relish.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.